Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Giggle Economy Podcast. I am your host, David Mascorro, a currently quarantine comedian here in Austin, Texas. Every week I sit down on Zoom and talk to a friend about the jobs that shaped our lives. I am joined today by a very great guest, a guest joining me from Portland, Oregon. Please give a big round of applause. On the internet, I can't hear you, but please give a big round of applause for Kyle Adams, everybody. Hello, Kyle. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing great.
Oh, man, it's so good. I live in Austin, which is part of Texas, and I don't have water to drink yet. So I'm drinking seltzer water because water is dangerous right now from the tap. Can you ever relate to that?
No, I haven't had that issue yet. We had a lot of downed trees around here,
Mm.
so a lot of people had issues with like trees falling into their car and into their house and stuff like that. So that's been our big issue over here. We got a lot of snow. We got about I want to say about a foot of snow here.
That's because
That's a lot for Portland. Yeah.
I've been through a couple of Portland snowpocalypses, but at least the gosh darn bars were open.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we could
this has been weird.
Yeah. So it's like 2020. I feel like 2020, we all understand what that is. We all understand the baseline. Like 2020 is like saying 2020 is like it's like saying Beetlejuice. We all get it. You say it three times, some horrible shit happens to you, right? 2021, I feel like when you watch a show and the characters on a sitcom become from kids to teenagers and you kind of
Oh.
they're the same kind of annoying, but just more grown up at the same time. That's what I feel like
Mhm.
2021 is. And I'm worried that 2022 and 2023 are just going to be
Oh.
the same amount of shitty, just a little more grown up and a little more. They know how to hit you, know how to hurt your feelings a little bit more because we're only in February.
So you're saying 2021 is like Dewey from Malcolm in the Middle? Like,
Yeah,
like you were cute when you were young, but now it's getting old.
a little bit. Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah.
I worry that like we were all so happy to see 2020 go away and 2021 we're all just not accepting the fact that this is also so far a very trying year.
Oh yeah. I mean, we were 6 days in when the rednecks fucking took the Capitol, man. Like I watched. Okay, so I really miss the cinema. I miss movies a lot. So I bought a cheap projector from Amazon, and I've been watching my news and movies and stuff on it. I watched the fucking Capitol riots live on a projector screen. I don't recommend it. It was such a bad idea. Yeah, I was just on my couch phone watching like a 6 foot tall just oh my god, it was not a good idea.
It reminds me of like when we're talking about loving movies, you'd always see in those old school movies right around World War I, World War II time, where you see the main character and he's watching the film reels from across the sea during the war. It's like, attention news, the Germans advance on France. And like, I felt like that's you watching the Capitol riots. Like, what's happening? What are they doing? Because I watched, go ahead.
Oh no, I was like, I just fucking, I don't know, man. I got the update online and then I turned it on and it was live. And I was like, this is how, because I remember my mom watched 9/11 live.
Mm.
And I just imagine that was somewhat similar. Like I remember she told me she was watching it when the second plane hit. Because I don't know if you remember, but they thought it was an accident at first.
They didn't know. They didn't know what it was.
Yeah, the second plane hit while they were being like, an accident? like, oh, this is not an accident.
Yeah, it seemed like I think the only thing that prepared us for that, not to keep it in the movies, was like Jerry Bruckheimer movies. You're like I think Con Air had come out in the 90s. So people were like, what? What are people doing with a plane? That doesn't make any sense. Like it was just, and then I can't even remember a time where I wasn't taking off my shoes or getting scanned by the hands up scanning machine, That's how long it's been.
I think I may have only traveled on a plane once before 9/11. So yeah, I'm used to it by now. Like that's just how it's always been for me.
I once traveled to Mexico as a teenager and we didn't have to use a passport. So that's where that was my early, I think I flew to Mexico when I was like 15, 16.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. And we didn't have to use a passport. It was like, yeah, we trust. Like, it was like flying for like, we trust you. Like, it was like that kind of like naivete back in the day.
I like that. I wish it was that easy.
Oh man, now you can't. But thank you so much for joining it. It looks like a beautiful. I look at the background of you. I'm using natural light today. I'm not using any of my Zoom
Right.
lighting for today because I kind of just missed. There hasn't been any sun here in Texas, and so I've been enjoying it today. A nice 60-degree weather day. Is it sunny where you are now, or is it still kind of cold?
You got that. And I'm sure you probably remember in Portland, we get that faux spring right now. It's like we're like 2 months away from real spring, and we're getting just like a little hint of it. The snow's completely melted now, though. So
good. That's good.
Yeah.
I really did not notice how Portland was affecting my melanin until I moved to Texas, and then realized that in photos from my time in Portland, I was there about 7 years, my time in Portland, that I was like grayish brown.
I was gonna say you look great. You look you're like radiant right now.
Oh, thanks. So that's actual melanin. My Latino melanin has actually been working. And I think in Portland, it just kind of like, I don't know, took a sabbatical, I guess. If you were to say another word, it just like, well, I'm not going to be needed here. I'm going to go over to a bunch of other Latinos that need me. And they just left me. And now, I'm brown again. I get to be brown again in Texas. And it kind of feels, I miss Portland because I love all you guys and I miss the scene there. But it's just weird how much I really feel like I needed sun. I don't know why. Did you start? You're one of the guys when I first met you. I loved your energy. I loved your smiling, your exuberance. You're just a wonderful persona on stage. Were you automatically from Oregon, or have you moved to Portland from other states?
I'm from Tampa.
Oh, so
I was born and raised in a redneck suburb of Tampa, Florida.
Oh, that what? It does. I wouldn't connect it right away, but now that you said it, it was my Kaiser Soze moment. I'm like, oh, of course. You're from Florida.
A Mountain Dew appears in my hand, and I move the chair slightly, and you see a singing bass in the background.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love Portland. I've been out here. It'll be 10 years. Next year will be 10 years. And I felt like I never fit in Florida. I've always been a sensitive guy, and I've always just been around like rednecks and toxic bullshit around there. And I just never really fit in. And then when I came to Oregon, it was like I could finally exhale and like be myself. And it's really cool. Like I feel like I've really blossomed in Portland.
Yeah, man. Well, I that's a real indication of like who I thought you were from Oregon, because you kind of have beard and long hair and kind of like weed smoking alone. You kind of had a vibe like you were from Oregon. You just had this like laid back, chill, like son of a lumberjack vibe. And I always liked that about you.
I appreciate that, man.
It was either it's either a lumberjack vibe or like a pro wrestler's son vibe,
Oh my God. I got so many times. So this happened in Florida. I drove through Taco Bell, and they're like, I forget his name, Mankind's real name.
Mick Foley.
Mick Foley, yes. So they're like, they handed me my food, and they're like, you look like Mick Foley. And I'm like, yeah, I get that a lot. I've gotten that, and then I got Samwell Tarly from Game of Thrones. People have said. Yeah, I've gotten that a few times.
All kind people, even Mankind, who wore a man in the Iron Mask kind of throne, man in the Iron Mask kind of gear on his face. His catchphrase when he was wrestling was "Have a nice day." So that's the vibe you got.
And he had the little sock puppet too, right?
Yeah.
Right. Oh man, I dug that.
Tell me a little bit more about your time in Florida, because I am fascinated. Because Florida is one of those states that I feel like, because I live in Texas, people give Texas a lot of shit. People. It's one of those states that instantly people hear Texas, they automatically have an idea of what that means in their head, right? And I feel like Florida is a very similar state.
Oh, definitely. I mean, well, I was just telling someone this the other day. So one of the main reasons we hear about all the crazy shit that happens in Florida, A, because crazy shit happens in Florida, but also they're very lax with their privacy laws when it comes to crimes. So essentially, if you commit a stupid crime, they can that day say your name on the news and be like, "Hey, it was this idiot." Like, so that's why there's so many like Florida man things. Like, I still love that Florida Man game where you type in your birthday and then type in Florida Man and you get a headline. Like I think the last one I got was man chugs beer at DUI checkpoint, which I think is that's just cost effective, man. That's smart, you know.
I I do. That is a great Florida Man headline. I love the idea of at least the drunk had a sense of urgency. You know what I'm talking about? Like he's like, oh shit, I'm 5 cars behind. Let's get this job done.
Yeah, he's like, I'm fucked either way. I might as well enjoy this beer. You know? But yeah, Florida, I don't know, man. I miss warm water beaches. I miss thunderstorms, which I know you get in Texas.
Mhm.
Thunderstorms are amazing. There's something very relaxing about them. I like the energy. I like the heat. I like the heat in the air when there's a thunderstorm. And I miss the Disney parks. I'm kind of a sucker for the parks. I'm not a huge Disney fanboy, but I really enjoyed going to the parks as a kid. So
I
I kind
bet.
of yeah, because I
Disney's
went
great.
a lot.
Yeah, Disney's great. I'm on a group thread with a bunch of my friends, comic friends, and I was like, we were all talking about what our favorite. Well, we were shitting on bad songs, and all of a sudden Disney came up, and they
Mhm.
were like, oh, this song is not very good. And I go, this song's pretty good from Moana. I like that crab song that Jermaine Clement sings, Moana.
Yeah.
And then I like, oh, there's certain songs that get stuck in my head. I like the Gaston song from Beauty and the
Mhm.
Beast. I just like him that he's kind of like into his best friend, but he won't say, but he's also like, you're a hunk, but he's like, you're also really cool. Why do you have low self-esteem, Gast? I like that vibe. And
Uh-huh.
my friend Noriko's like, you sound like a DJ from the Neverland Ranch. I'm like, damn it. Like, because it's like it is a weird like for an adult man to talk about Disney music and Disney. I don't want to be considered like a Disney person, but who doesn't like Disney? Disney's kind of
Yeah.
like it's kind of like not liking pizza or ice cream
Hmm. Yeah,
at
it's
some
well, it's
point.
just it's permeated culture so much where you can't avoid it. So it's like, yeah, but I know what you mean. Like we had a we had a teacher my senior year. She was like fresh out of college. She was like 26 years old, Republican, huge Disney fan. And it was insane. She just had Disney stuff all over her classroom. She even had the hidden Mickey Mouse ears like they do at the park. And you would get extra credit if you found the Mickey Mouse ears in her classroom. And she like played Cinderella on the like on her summer break, and so she was obsessed. But yeah, she two things about her: she loved Disney, and she hated when you said that we lost Vietnam. It was a history class. She's like, no, Vietnam was a tie. Mickey Mouse is gone, and Vietnam was a tie.
It's the only time in American history that we followed soccer rules. Like we both get points. We both get points. You know what? How Republican was she? Do you think she was like? Do you think that she believed in marriage equality? Do you think that was a thing?
I don't think I don't know, man. She was like Florida Republican. She definitely had like Sarah Palin vibes, I would say.
Okay.
Like she would get really angry if you cussed at all, and like even if you said like hell or damn, she'd get really upset. Which is funny because it was like right next door to my econ class where my teacher would yell fuck at people who fell asleep. So that was he would just go fuck. Like, so it was a weird juxtaposition
Dude,
there.
I would love. Why don't we have more Florida teacher stories? That sounds fucking great. But
Oh,
speaking of the Republican one, it's weird if she didn't believe in marriage equality that she would be into like two mice being a
yeah,
couple, two
yeah.
two ducks just like being together. Like I guess you can say it's like if you were to translate them, it's a little on the line of like Jim Crow segregation. Like, you stay with your own kind at least. Ducks stay with
Oh my
ducks.
God.
Goofies stay with goofies.
Yeah, she probably have a huge issue with the Muppets. I
Yeah.
would say.
Oh, the
With
Muppets. The Muppets
Piggy.
are like the interracial dating of that world, man. They're like, you know, Dr. Teeth was having sex with everybody in the Electric Mayhem. You know what I'm talking about? Like, Miss Piggy and Kermit are the best example of interracial dating. They fight a bunch. They break up. They get back. One of them's like, I don't think I could do this anymore. And the other one's like, I love you forever. Like, I love you, Kermit. I don't know why when I do it, it sounds like she's Latina, but it does. But yeah, for sure, the Muppets. That's the difference between Disney and the Muppets. Now Disney owns the Muppets, but I'm glad they have a little more eclectic feel to their vibe. Speaking of all that stuff, what was the first? As this is a Job Bot podcast, what's your idea about money? Like, how do you feel? Do you think money is a tool? Do you like having a lot of money? Do you want to be rich in your life? Do you want to be comfortable? What does money mean to you in your life? And how did that affect you grow? Like, would you grow up middle class or up and down or up or upper middle class or lower?
It was weird. It was so I grew up in a single wide trailer in Florida, which was always the oh my God, he lives in a trailer and it's not even a double wide. It was that kind of that was the what people would say. Both my parents were teachers, so they had a decent amount of money. I think they both pulled in like maybe like a 60K household when I was a kid. My mom broke her ankle at a certain point and was unemployed for a long time and just never healed. Yeah, and then we were broke for a good while, and our only transportation was a motorcycle. So my dad had to go like pick up groceries in a duffel bag, and we'd always have a fucking smushed loaf of bread. Like, I just remember that. Like, I always had to straighten out my bread before I put it in the toaster. Like, but yeah, I mean, they've always been kind of like ebb and flow with money. Like, they were always, but parents have always been very generous too. And that's something I've noticed, like a lot of like lower middle class to like lower class people is like, we always kind of looked at money as something like, yeah, kind of like a tool, but something that's also shareable. Like, and if there's people that need it, we help them out where we can,
I love the idea. That's awesome. I love the idea that you came from. That's that caring personality that you have, is that you are the son of two people that dedicated their lives to making someone educated. Like, that's that vibe. I love figuring a person out like that and knowing that your care and your kindness comes from two kind people. But also, like, I can't imagine breaking my ankle and then like only having a motorcycle to rely on. That sounds terrifying.
It was crazy. Well, she had a car for a bit. It got repossessed. It got repossessed. I'm trying to get a better.
That's all right.
Here. It got repossessed, and then we just had the motorcycle for a while. Like, I remember this was like 2000, 2001. I remember riding on the back of my dad's motorcycle to go see the Grinch movie. I remember like that was a big moment. But I don't know. As for me, when it comes to money, I'm always more of the mindset of I live very meagerly, and I value my time more than I value my money. I would much rather work 25 hours and then do comedy the rest of the week and have free time than have a lot of money saved up necessarily.
Yeah. The only thing that scares me about like, and when as you get older, the only thing that the body, or if you hit one bad disease in America, if you hit, knock on wood, the C word, or if you have to have a major surgery and you don't have a lot of money saved up, I think you can live for a very long time and be fine. But then if one big surgery, that could be it for most people,
Yeah.
And that's why I always think I would love to see just maybe, I know people don't like, I live in Texas and people are like, don't raise my tax, but like, it'd be kind of nice not to worry about health insurance if I got hurt, like it would be kind of nice to know that my government cared enough about me to not want me. Because I'm sure if we had health insurance, they'd care more about the food we ate. There wouldn't be so many fast food, because if they were on the tab, then they'd be responsible for keeping us healthy. And that'd be nice to not have to, worry about just getting sick. Cause that's my biggest worry. Cause I've always worked a job since I was probably 13. Now, now I worked like a part-time job with my parents, but always worked. And that was always a very scary. My dad always said, one job, that's base. 2 jobs, now you're getting somewhere. 3 jobs, okay. Like, so for me, it's like comedy's one job. I have my full-time job that also brings in rent, and and then I should have another side job. Like I make a podcast, or I make posters, or I take photography, and so I have to have, I feel like I have to be constantly busy because my parents instilled in me that kind of like, I don't know what's gonna happen. So it's always I'm like a squirrel. I'm just like saving nuts. And I wish I didn't have to. I wish I wasn't so afraid to live more life instead of saving money as I do. And I don't have a lot, but I do have they say that if you do have discretionary, I could lose like $500 or $600 and be fine. Like that's a nice feeling. If, knock on wood, something bad happened, I'm not gonna I have a month of rent or less than a month or more month of rent if something hits the fan, and that always feels good. Did you have any? Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's nice to have a cushion.
Yeah.
And that's something like since I've quit drinking, I've been able to do that at least. Like I've always got about a $1,200 cushion just in case anything happens.
Yeah, that's always good. Just and like I said, I probably have more, but I just think about it as if money disappeared on my bank account tomorrow, I know I'd be comfortable with this amount just disappearing, and it wouldn't even it'd be bad, but it'd still be okay,
you wouldn't be you wouldn't be destitute or anything.
Exactly.
Be able to.
What was the first job you had? And what was the first thing you bought with your? Because I imagine it was like you were a kid. What was the first thing you bought with your dispensable income?
This is really funny. I bought Nick Swardson's album, Party. I don't know if you remember that one.
Is that the one where it's like Nicholas, like and he's like raising?
He talks about his grandma.
Yeah.
He's like the strongest boy in the world.
I love that. I love that album. That's a really good one.
That was the first. So my first job, my first official real job. I worked at Arby's for like a week or two in the summer of 2005. But don't glaze over that. Let's talk about why you left the meats. Let's talk the meat.
So what was wrong with it? Why only a week?
I hated Arby's. It was my manager was an asshole. It was a rough job, and I wasn't good at it. I was good at talking to people, and I was good on the fryer, but everything else, I fucked up the drive-through so bad.
Oh no!
I just didn't want to. The drive-through is tough because you're talking to people on the headset, you're giving people money, and then there's people just shoving bags at you, and it's like, I don't know what this is. Why are you? And then there are people I worked with this one guy who was playing pranks on me. And he would give me the wrong bag. I was like, dude, give me the wrong bag on purpose, or put something weird in the bag. I was really bad at that. But I like the fryer because the fryer I could cook up jalapeno poppers on the side, and I would just be eating those while I was working. So that was nice.
Because not to say, because I wouldn't want to make this statement without saying that we both look like we enjoy an Arby's sandwich from time to time.
Yeah.
But we both look great at making sandwiches. So I'm very surprised. I liked it. I never thought about it until you said that. It is very difficult to trust the person that's giving you the bag. You're not cooking the food. You're just taking the money and taking the orders. And so you're doing 3 things. You were 15 at the time, or how old were you when you were doing Arby's?
I was 16. It was 2005 at Arby's, so I was 16 or 17. It was the summer Batman Begins came out. I remember that. Yeah, that's how I categorize in my life. What Batman movie came out here?
I know. Right now, you're living through the Suicide Squad years or whatever. So that job ended, and I'm sorry about that. But at least you said jalapeno poppers near the side. That sounds like a Jimmy Buffett song waiting to be written, So you quit that job. That job went away. You just weren't good at the whatever they people were fucking with you. Just wasn't your forte. What was your next job after that?
So I didn't have another job until I graduated high school. So that was like a little summer job I had, just to help out because my dad wasn't working during the summer because he's a teacher. And then I did Cracker Barrel in 2007, and I was there for a couple of months, and I hated that. And then I switched over to Macaroni Grill from there. But yeah, I was at Cracker Barrel for a little bit. I was doing like, they had me up at 6 a.m. unloading the truck in the freezer. And that was like just 2 hours of standing in a deep freezer, unloading boxes and stacking them and organizing them. And it freaked me out because I met a guy who was 38 at the time. I was 19. And he was like, I've been here 19 years.
Oh,
and he's like,
shit.
I love it. And I'm like, I looked at him and I was like, no, I don't want to be you. Like, it really freaked me out. And just the idea of like unloading boxes for 19 years really freaked me out.
That was like, when in The Shining, when Jack Nicholson meets the old bartender.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, exactly. And I can't think of a worse place for a white guy to be saying that to another white guy than Cracker Barrel. That definitely sounds like a Twilight Zone place where purgatory white people go. It's like you're stuck in the Cracker Barrel.
It was just crazy. And his story was similar to mine because at the time I thought I was going to have a kid. So the whole Cracker Barrel story is insane. Like I had a girlfriend, she got pregnant while we were hanging out and doing our thing. And she ended up not having the baby. She ended up having a miscarriage, later on. But at the time, he was a dad, and he's like, yeah, I started working here because I had a baby. And it was literally like I saw my life flash before my eyes when I met this guy, and it freaked me the fuck out. But it was an interesting job. I definitely learned a lot there. I learned how to bust tables fast, so that helped me out later on because I wait tables now. And I was a busser for a long time as well. But it was just a crazy experience because I just saw a lot of things I wouldn't have seen otherwise. Like watching people dumpster dive for toys for their kids. Like I worked alongside a lot of people who were didn't make a whole lot of money. So Cracker Barrel has that retail store. So they would just they wouldn't donate the toys. They wouldn't do anything. They would literally throw the toys out into the dumpster. And like, I remember people diving into the fucking dumpster and like fishing it up for their kids and stuff. Like, it's crazy.
That's so crazy. I never even thought about the toys. I always think about like, oh, they'll throw away food, like expired cans of food, whatever, like grocery stores. But I didn't even think about the toys. Yeah, they probably don't. That's a crazy thing to see that like wealth gap right there. You're like you're working there, but then they're perfectly fine, but legally they have to throw them away instead of giving them, because if they give them away, it's probably something on their taxes, Yeah.
I think that's probably what it was. They didn't want to do the paperwork, but it was crazy. I was like, I'm watching these people who are they're jumping into a dumpster to get a little like stuffed rabbit for their daughter. And it made me sad. Like it was also very sweet, obviously, but you're just, man, this is fucked up. Like, this is like, that was the first time I really I started to understand our waste culture and stuff in America. It was insane.
For sure. Really, I mean, well, I want to get back to the kid thing because I don't want to glaze over that. That must have been a mind numbing experience to like, oh my God, because I think about that, having a child and being locked into a position where I have to get this kid food and shelter and medicine and clothing, and you're responsible for another life. And that's terrifying to me. And I could see that you would be like, oh no, I'm going to stay here at Cracker Barrel for 20 years. And at some point I'm going to be like, this sucks. This doesn't suck. I like this. I love this. Like, like all of a sudden you start drinking the Cracker Barrel Kool-Aid at some point. And
it's ranch flavored.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But with those two, I'm glad you didn't have a kid if you weren't ready for one, because that's always a big thing. It's always nice to be like, if you wanted one and you had one, maybe maybe you'd be like a Jim Gaffigan comedian right now, and we wouldn't know, or maybe you wouldn't even get to try comedy because maybe that could be a priority in your life. But whatever happens, I'm a big believer. Whatever happens, it's for a reason. So keep going. Did you either get fired or quit from either Arby's or Cracker Barrel before you went over to Macaroni Grill?
Oh, so I have a bit about quitting Cracker Barrel actually. So I said I quit Cracker Barrel by no call, no showing, but I didn't have direct deposit, so I had to show. I had to show. Yeah, that was a really interesting experience. So the lady told me, she was very upset, my manager. She told me I could never. So I am technically not allowed to work at a Cracker Barrel store ever again. I am barred. That is the one place I cannot be gainfully employed, is at Cracker Barrel because of that.
That seems like, I think if there's statute of limitations on a lot of heinous crimes,
Oh, yeah.
why wouldn't there be a statute of limitations on a no call, no show at a very popular chain restaurant? That doesn't make any sense to me. Oh, I think you're moving back. I like the journey we're going on with your webcam. Uh-oh. We lost him a little bit. He's gonna check. Anyway, this is a fun little break until Kyle comes back. If you want to check out any of the other episodes of the Giggle Economy, please do so. I think we might have lost him, so I might come back in a minute and see if I can split this back together. But we'll see. We'll give it another couple minutes. Go and check out every episode of the Giggle Economy before this, and yeah, come back, and I might have to pause it until he gets back, and then we'll get back to it. So let me give it another couple seconds, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, we'll be right back. All right, we're back from that technical difficulty that we had. I think before we cut out, I think we saw a little bit of your panic ass crack. I think in the
That's great. Can we leave that in, please?
We'll just leave it in. Because I was like, right before I was letting people know they can check out other episodes, because I'm like, I hoped everything was okay. I'm glad it was just your phone and everything's going to work out. But that was the first time for the Giggle Economy. So thank you so much. I was worried for you. I was like, what's happening? Oh, no.
I've been taken out by the Cracker Barrel people.
I know. You never know what was going to happen. Like, they were taking you out behind the dumpster and throwing you in the trash, So we were talking about you. The last thing we were talking about was you leaving Cracker Barrel, no call, no show. You couldn't get paid. You can't work in any other Cracker Barrels in the country because you no called, no showed. And you went to Romano's Macaroni Grill. And how was that better as a job compared to the macaroni? Because now I love that place. They give you crayons and they let you draw on things, right?
So I literally I left Cracker Barrel for a 50-cent pay raise at the time is what. So I was washing dishes over at Macaroni Grill, and then I did that for about a year and a half, and then I moved up to busser, and I bussed tables for a while, and then I eventually became a server there, and that's how I ended up. Because it's actually really tough to get serving experience if you've never served before. Because most places won't hire you if you haven't served. So you really have to like work your way up. But I was being vetted to go into the kitchen for a while, but I'm just not good. I'm not a good kitchen worker. So I'm more of a people person. I burn myself and cut myself a lot. So I just, I had to go the opposite direction. But
I've never gotten told no about any serving job that I wanted. I don't know if it's that or if that's oh, he looks Latino kind of thing or not. But did you ever have to do this? My experience of doing serving, did they ever let you like train to be a server and then you didn't get any tips? You worked like a full like shift or two and you didn't get paid, but you just had to watch and shadow someone? That sucks.
I've done that at almost every job I've been at. Luckily, the last place I did that, so I'm at McCormick and Schmick's now.
Hmm.
So I'm at the water. I'm down at the waterfront downtown, and that was the only place I trained at the Beaverton store, and that server there let me keep the tips that day. He was
Mm,
really cool.
nice.
He's like, hey man, you worked for him, so we're splitting tips.
That's
You
really
know?
nice. I worked for
Yeah.
a guy. I was in Chicago, and I worked for a guy, and he goes, I got a family. He goes, so this is mine, and next time you can be the guy that screws over the trainee. I'm like, what? I was like, oh, okay, that's fine, I guess. But and then I got sick and tired. I did that for 3 days with no pay, no tip out, and I was like, fuck this job. And then I found something else. I think I worked at a temp agency or something like that. But that I don't. What was your hourly wage tip like working as a server? Because I can tell you
In,
mine. Yeah, in Florida.
in Florida, it was 4.20 an hour.
Yeah, because in
And
Texas it's 213.
yeah, I get zeroed out paychecks. I would get at Macaroni Grilled. They'd be like, "Here's your paycheck," and it was like sometimes there'd be like $2 on it. Other times there'd be zero because they tax you for your tips.
Yeah.
But Oregon's a lot better. Oregon is minimum wage plus tips for servers. So my like if I work about 30 to 40 hours a week now, my paycheck's like anywhere from like 250 to $300, which is nice.
What's have you ever been through that experience where I've been seeing because of the pandemic a lot of stories about nice people going to a restaurant because restaurants have taken a hard hit right now,
Hmm.
and they're just like, oh, we're gonna all my followers on Instagram, we're gonna donate to my Venmo, and then I'm gonna give it to the server, and they gave this server like $3,000 a tip, and she was so happy. Have you ever been given like a gigantic tip because and then
Hmm.
like can you explain that like story if it was a good story or just anything crazy that happened during your time serving?
So I would say the most interesting story would be at Red Robin. So I hated Red Robin's probably still the worst job I've ever had. It's they don't give you they give you so many tables at once and they don't their kitchen is barely functioning. Like I had this lady at Red Robin tip 100% on her tab, and her tab was $50. So
Wow.
she gave me a $50 tip, and she basically told me to run away from Red Robin. She's like, he's like, you are such a good server. She's like, I've never gotten service this good at a Red Robin. She's like, you need to be utilizing your skills at a nicer place. She's like, you can make so much more money. She's like, you're above this place. And I started to cry. And I was like, I am above. Like, it was just like, it was this moment. And that was a couple months before I ended up finally quitting that place. But
Oh my God. I cannot imagine having an intervention at my day job. Like, oh my God, I am better than Red. I am better. I am better than just serving campfire sauce, never ending French fries to people.
oh, I hated Red Robin, but I mean I think I would have found a path to comedy regardless.
Yeah.
But Red Robin really fueled in the early days of my comedy, really fueled my like anger and my sense of humor towards like people in general. Like
Can you
so
give an example of that?
um I think the funniest thing that happened while I was working there was and I have a bit about this. So a hammer with a rubber mallet fell into our gluten-free fryer, and we didn't find out about it for like 2 or 3 weeks. So the whole Christmas break, like the whole Christmas break season, like Christmas time season, they were serving fries that had fucking plastic in them basically from the fryer. And my joke was is like I would get in trouble if I told anybody about this. I believe that corporate policy is snitches get stitches, but if they find out what was in the fryer, consumers get tumors is much
Yeah.
more accurate.
Oh my God.
That was one of the first jokes I wrote that really got a big response, like at the open mics and stuff. So I definitely feel like Red Robin inspired me a lot with just how insanely negligent that job, like they were at that job.
Man, I watched this video on YouTube because sometimes you get down a rabbit hole on YouTube. That's what it's there for, to kind of like
Mhm.
suck you in and like focus your attention on like something. And I watched a video about Red Robin. Everyone talks shit on Red Robin, that and those like I think they're called restaurants. So
Yeah.
it's like Tilted Kilt, Hooters, Twin
Oh,
Peaks, those kind of
I
like excuse me, sir, and like they have a girl with like, and I always feel so weird because I've been to like a restaurant with my girlfriend, and
uh-huh.
she's all like, you can look, and I'm like, I don't want to look, and I'm just like, like trying to explain what kind of pervert you are to your girlfriend while you're at a restaurant. You're like, I just really like the cold beer here. Makes me sound like the guy back in the 70s that says he just reads Playboys for the articles. I was like, I felt like such an asshole. She's like, it's okay. She's wearing short. You can look at her, but I'm like, I'm just here for wings. You're like, uh-huh. I'm like, really? I promise.
Oh man, I had a friend, one of my server friends. Her name was Tasha. We went to Tilted Kilt for drinks one night after shift at Macaroni Grill, and our server was just really bad. Like she was new and she was messing up. And Tasha was like, "Man, I wish I could just work at a place like this. So when I fuck up, I can just bend over and be like, oops." Like, she's like, you can just completely, wipe the slate clean every time you go to the table because they don't care that you're
Yeah.
fucking things like.
I wonder if restaurants exist because like when you're married, because it seems to be a lot of married dudes that go there, and like you have a shared bank account, and if your wife sees like a titty bar on on the bank statement, but if you see Tilted Kilt or Hooters or Twin Peaks doesn't sound like anything if you really don't. Like, oh, like the TV show, like you don't think about it, but it's still like $200. You're like, oh man, he must have had like a fun day with the boys, and like maybe that's how they make their money because it's like incognito. Like, oh, okay, let's go check this out. I don't know how they make, but it tends to be a lot of dudes at those restaurants. But then I once weirdly saw a whole family at a Hooters, and I'm like, why?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? How much pull does this dad have? Like, that's crazy.
It's like why do you have high chairs at a Hooters?
Yeah, exactly. It's super weird. Like, do you have a kid?
My dad apparently used to bring me into Hooters to watch Buccaneers games when I was a baby because he got more attention that way.
That's so.
So all the waitresses would come over and say hi to me.
He's like, normally, Kyle, I'm just a lowly teacher, but here at Hooters, I'm the number one Bucks fan. Go Bucks, or whatever your dad was going through at the time, But I mean, as long as you're not being creepy, as long as you're, those restaurants, as long as you're being respectful and tipping everybody, I think everyone's good. But I can't imagine, because there was a time where I was a bartender at Chili's one time, and I was about 100 pounds skinnier than I am now. And I remember that I was ogled by women, like older, like cougar-y women, and they were checking out me in my jeans, and they were just like, and I remember this older woman, stuck a $20 bill in my back pocket, and I'm like, and I felt like flattered, but also like a little weird about it. And I didn't know how to deal with it. And then I went to my manager. He's like, that's the hospitality life, man. He goes, you gave her good service. He goes, it's a little gray. He goes, but she didn't do anything. She didn't like cross any line. I go, no, she didn't do it. It was just weird that she like, when I was like, my back was turned, she slipped it in. I didn't like bend over to like make her do that. She just kind of slipped it in while I was like, my back was away from her. It was so weird. And I'm like, it never happened again, but it was just like, oh, yeah, it made me empathize for people that are put in weird situations where customers flirt with employees, because that must be.
It's so much worse for women.
Yeah, exactly, and that I think a lot about service jobs is good to teach you communication skills, to teach you team building. Whether you like the team or not, you have to work with the chefs and the busboys and the bartenders. Teaches you responsibility and teaches you time management. It teaches you a lot of things that you may not know when you're working that shitty job at the time. But then in retrospect, you're like, oh, I'm so glad I worked a restaurant job at least once in my life.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm thankful for Red Robin, even though I fucking hate it, because anytime it gets really busy at my job now, it's like a breeze.
Yeah.
Because Red Robin, because they stretched us out so far, we'd have like 10 to 12 tables. the kitchen would always be going down, like constantly going down. We couldn't get fry fills out, and we were getting people so angry that they would leave without paying, because the service was so slow. But like now I'm like, people are losing their mind at my job. I'm like, dude, this is easy.
Yeah.
And our tips are like, 100% better, like, because it's a fine dining place and our clientele actually have a decent amount of money. So
That's good. I'm glad.
Everything's better.
I like the idea that you're getting at least a livable wage and then also tips instead of, because like I said, $2.13 or $3 or $5, whatever it is, whatever laws it is in certain states where they can issue you less than the national minimum wage. I always think that's so fucked up. Think about like all the people right now in this pandemic that are just like, I'm fucked, and hopefully they're getting some kind of unemployment. But I'm just like, it's just so stressful right now thinking about it. Like I think about comedy. Like let's talk about comedy. Let's get off the sad subject of people that are poor and people that are, because obviously that's always going to be a thing. We can't get to past. So like let's not bring people down on the internet too much. So let's transition into, we both had good times at restaurants. When did you first do comedy after the Red Robin? Like how long from Red Robin until the first time you did comedy? What was that like?
I did comedy while I was working at Red Robin, actually.
Okay.
It was really weird. This guy, he's one of my best friends. He was doing an open mic at Brody, and it was like 2014, end of 2014. That's when I started, about August of 2014. He goes up, and it was Anatoly hosting, and he put my friend at the bottom because he brought a bunch of people, because that's what you do. You bring people to the open mic, you wait and make them wait. But he did mics like 2 times, and then he never did comedy again. And I got like inspired the first time. I was like, I watched everybody go. I think you might have even been there that night. I watched a lot of people go up, and I was just like, I've wanted to do it forever. And I was like, dude, I can totally, like, I got to get a set together and do this. And then the next week I did it. And then it was sporadic at first. I only went to Brody for a while, and I would do like 2 or 3 mics a night. And then once I started branching out, like about 2015, and then I started hitting it like consistently, but
yeah, I mean, I think because like I just now weirdly you say that. I found this is says Boogie's Last Stand, and it's Sunday. So it was Sunday, May 10th, 2015. This was my set list from Bridgetown. I got into Bridgetown that year, and this was one of my shows that I was hosting. And so I must have been out at 2014 to doing, because I think before I got Bridgetown, I think I did something like 700 sets that year before I got Bridgetown. Like I was almost to the point in 2015, because I was getting in comedy, and I was like trying out, and I wasn't getting. Bridgetown was my first credit, my first big credit. And I said to myself and the girl I was dating at the time, I go, if I don't get into Bridgetown this next year, I'm quitting. And so I hit the ball running, and or whatever, like hit the ground running. Hit the ball running is weird. That's like highlight or something like that. I hit the ground running, and I did like that many sets. And then the day I got it, I was just like, I don't have to quit. I was just like the best fucking feeling. And I just found that piece of paper from one of the sets that I did at Bridgetown Comedy Fest. And I was just so grateful, because I'm like, have you ever because I know I see you online, and I see how hard you work and how much you love doing comedy. And I saw that you posted that you were feeling a little down during the pandemic, and like you were feeling like we put so much self-worth into comedy. I know a lot of us that love it. Like I love it. I know you love it. I know like Dan Weber loves it. I know Noriko. I know Adam Pot. All these people that do it. A lot of people that we see. It's so hard to have that taken away and still have that identity. I know you were struggling through some of that. And I want to tell you that, like, I love that you shared it, but like, you're way more of a person without it. And I want you to know, like, I just love that you shared it, but you're a good person. And I love talking. I don't know, not to be too sappy on podcasts and all that stuff, but
You've always been very very encouraging. I remember even you bringing up Boogies. I remember you asking me one time at Boogies how long I'd been doing comedy, and I think I'd been doing it for like 5 months at that point. And you're like, "Wow!" You're like, "Keep it up." You're like, "You're doing great. You just keep doing what you're doing."
I think
And
it
that
was
made me.
Boogies, or it was, what was the one that they had $2 taco night and it was right next to the Ship Ahoy bar?
Uh,
It was run by the guy that like loves wrestling, and it was on like
oh,
Tuesdays.
is it High Dive?
High Dive. You
High
had
Dive.
you had
Yeah,
a killer set at High Dive, and you had confidence for that amount of time that you were on set. I'm like, I would kill to have that delivery and that confidence, 5 or 6, whatever it was, when I saw you. And I was like,
yeah. Mhm.
you just, I love the excitement of you telling jokes. The beginning of doing comedy is like the best. Like that's the
Mhm.
best. Like, because you're gonna love it, but you're never gonna love it as much when you're
It's when
fucking
you
around
start.
and you're failing and you're just being an idiot. You don't know. Like once you know what a good set is, like once you do like 45 good minutes or an hour or a good feature 30-minute set, and you're like, that was crazy. Now I have to do that. Now you realize like the line you crossed, and you can't go back to just doing good 3-minute sets. You have to just do good half hour or an hour sets. You're like, oh, this is so much more stress. So it becomes more of a job.
Mhm.
But the joy I saw in you that day, I think it was at High Dive or at Brody or at Boogies. I just love watching people that love it. And you were definitely one of the people. I think you were giggling at your own stuff, and you made people happier. I watched the crowd because I like to watch the crowd too. I don't remember the bits because I don't want to copy anyone's material, but I watched the audience fall in love with you telling jokes. And that was like, I remember that was like such a cool moment to see. And that's why I want to talk to you, because I was like, I wanted to tell you, it's like, that's in you no matter what. If stand-up comedy wasn't a thing, you'd be like you'd be sharing that bubbly personality anyway. You'd be doing it at Cracker Barrel, even if you got that, even if you had a baby with that
Uh-huh.
girl, you'd be sharing that bubbly goodness with people no matter what. So don't think that that's your only redeeming thing. That stand-up comedy is great, but it can't be everything, because you have to give it, like you have to live a life to give it, to focus into stand-up comedy.
Mhm.
So I just love that. I just love that you shared it, because I think being vulnerable on the internet is something that I don't do very well. I'm gonna just have a dour moment. I'm gonna write in my diary, and
Yeah.
I never share it online. But it was really brave and cool of you to share a moment that you were down. And I just
Thank
wanted to
you.
say, yeah, it's just
I
so
was, I
cool.
was very surprised with the outpouring. People were
Yeah,
so. I wrote a bit about it. I said if there's anything positive about having like a breakdown on Facebook, you get the mixtape version of what people would say at your funeral, which is
yeah.
cool. it's like you get the fucking you get the SoundCloud eulogy. You get great.
that's fucking funny, dude. I love that. I love that. But
I
yeah,
really like that.
because like it is hard right now. But that's why I started doing the podcast. I wanted to reach out because my favorite thing about comedy, besides making people laugh, is talking to everyone that's all the comics table and getting that, because I think you have to like get the vibe of the room before you go up. You can't just go. I hate
Mhm.
my worst sets were the ones where I was driving from set to set to set, and I parked, I jumped on, like, you're on stage in 5 minutes, and then I went on. I did fine, but the ones I remember I did well at were the ones I was hanging out, talking to the comics, getting warmed up, getting socially, like ready, and then I would go up and kill, and just like watching all of you guys, and like it was always so much fun. So I know we
Yeah,
we 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 went away from the main subject working, but I just wanted to say that and just
I
think that
appreciate that.
think that you're cool, man, and like stick with it, because like I said, because we'll get through this. I know it's a pain in the ass, and you're performing at a comedy festival right after this, right? Tell people about that.
Festival.
Aren't you doing like a didn't you say you were doing some kind of shows tonight? Like this is Sunday that we're doing it.
Oh, oh no, it's the Black Comedy Festival. I'm going to check it out tonight.
Oh,
I,
I was
yeah.
wondering. I was going to wonder about it. I was like,
I'm on the Black. No, I'm not on the Black Comedy.
I didn't know if you were on the Cracker Barrel hour or something like that. Like, I didn't know.
No, it was so funny. I told a couple friends that I was going tonight, and they're like, "Are you going to be the token white guy?"
Yeah,
And
I didn't know. I didn't know what you were. I was
I
like,
just love,
I
I
didn't know
just
what.
love I love hijinks and Courtney, and just I'm always there to support them because they've always been like they supported me in the beginning when when no one else would really book me and
Yeah.
stuff. I've always come back to them. Their mics have always been a great time, like.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
Let's.
but and they're starting up their mic again too, which is awesome.
You're gonna and you're it's gonna come back. Everything's gonna come back, and it's gonna. At least you're here in Austin. We have like newbies that are coming from the East Coast. We have LA comics coming down to Austin. So like I haven't been out since I want to say like maybe October, and then one time in March. One time in no, that's not right. March of 2020 was my last time, and then October of 2020, and then I haven't been out. Like that's been like my whole, and I've been writing, I've been doing Facebook, I've been doing the podcast, but it's been hard. So I can imagine that's been, but let's refocus. You're a wonderful person. That's been said. Let's not, at some point this becomes I become like some kind of like Barbara Walters thing. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Like stop Dr. Philling it. Let's get on with the funny. This is still a comedy podcast. Let's talk about your funniest day on any job, or the best way that you quit. Like, let's end the podcast. We'll do a couple more stories about like just some funny days at work or some funny ways that you got fired or quit. Let's do that.
So I got fired. I've only been fired once.
Oh.
I got fired. I used to work. So after Red Robin, I moved on to the Ram, which is I think it's Pacific Northwest exclusive. They might have a couple other franchises around the country, but it's basically a big boy Red Robin.
Cool.
It's like a sports bar, but they had really interesting food, and they had a great, the managers were great and the team was great. So I got really excited about working there. It was simultaneously the best job I have ever had, and also it turned into like one of the worst jobs towards the end. But it was management is what the difference was. But anyway, so we had this amazing manager. He was my age at the time. And so, have you ever had like a hands-on like general manager at a restaurant who was like right in the trenches with you, like doing everything?
And you're fucking cool as shit. Like, I love you.
Awesome. He was, and all the managers there did a great job of towing the line between being your friend and being like a manager that you respected and you didn't want to fuck up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you respected everyone there. But anyways, halfway through working there, he moved on. Which is funny because he actually moved on to the company I'm with now, Landry's. I've ran into him a few times. But we got this fucking guy. He came in. He was already retired. They brought him in for one more year. He didn't give a fuck about anything. And the restaurant, like it just showed. Like the restaurant started dipping. We started losing kitchen workers, which obviously you lose a good kitchen, the restaurant's fucked. You know what I mean? So we ended up having like hour-long ticket times during
my God.
Hour-long ticket times at a place that's normally like 15, 20 minutes at most. And this guy cussed me out. He cursed me out. He said, "This is terrible fucking service. You're a horrible fucking fat ass waiter." Just went into all this shit. And I was walking him out the door because that's what you do when someone's like that. And I said, "Hey man, have a nice day. Thanks for being a jerk about it." That's all I said. I called him a jerk, but it happened in front of a bunch of customers in the front lobby where they were sitting people. And this Karen type lady is like, "Oh, I can't believe he just spoke to this person this way," because they didn't see the exchange in the beginning. And she's like, "I don't want to sit in his section." And then apparently it snowballed and no one wanted to sit in my section. So I didn't get sat for another hour.
Oh,
and then, the manager came up to me. He's like, "I heard what happened. It doesn't seem like, it seems like he was being a jerk." He's like, "As long as they don't report it, you're going to be fine." I worked the end of my shift. That manager, the main manager, leaves. My other manager, he's like super stern and super serious, and he looks kind of scared, like he's nervous about talking to me. He sits me down at the end of my shifts, tells me I'm suspended for 2 days, and they're gonna review my case and see what happens. I come in 2 days later. This is like, what is this? This is 2017. This is New Year's. This happens right before New Year's of 2018. So I have the 2 days off. I'm stressed about it. I'm crying. I'm drinking my troubles away. This is before I quit. And uh, I come in for the meeting. I'm on TriMet. I take the bus out. I check on hot schedules to see if I'm on the schedule. Motherfucker took me off the schedule. So it's like, if you're gonna fire me, why the spoiler alert? Like, why not let me find out? Like, I went into the meeting knowing I was getting fired. So I told this boss exactly how I felt about him. And I talked about how, because he got into this whole thing about how my morale in general was bad. And I was like, oh, you want to talk about morale? Let's talk about the entire store's morale. Like, it's night and day between you and this guy, and how it used to be run and how you run it and stuff. And he was just like speechless. And I was really proud of myself. I didn't curse. I was aggressive, but I didn't curse and I didn't make a scene, and then I left without having to be like escorted out. But that was a really cool moment for me to be able to like tell that dude off. And then he got fired for being racist the next year. So because he used to piss everybody off. He would say shit like, he would go up to a girl and be like, "Oh, you have gauges in your ears. That's exotic." Like, I could see the girl being like, "Oh," like she's like, just like she's like shaking it off afterwards. But yeah, he would say misogynistic shit. He would say homophobic shit. He would say racist shit all the time, and he finally got popped.
Sometimes I think, even when it doesn't swing in your favor, I think that working at a restaurant, the hospitality business in general, is one of the most well-functioning democratic systems ever invented. Like, you have to, if you want to say a democratic society, think about how much you can't piss off anyone at a restaurant, really, when you work your job. You can't piss off the line cook, you can't piss off the busser, you can't piss off the servers, you can't piss off your management. You got to be a good citizen inside that restaurant. And if any of that breaks down, society at that restaurant breaks down. And bad people get rooted out, hopefully, not always right away, but usually within time, everything gets fixed. Like the society will fix and rebuild itself. And I always love that about food service.
For sure.
I don't know. But let's end with the let's that was a great, I love that you got, I love that feeling of walking out like, fuck yeah, I didn't cuss, case done. Like you're like, I'm perfect on that one. What is your most favorite day of work? And that's how we'll end it.
My favorite, like favorite day I've ever had.
Like, if you had to relive a day, Groundhog's Day style, what day would that be? At what job was that at?
It would probably be at the job I'm at now. So I didn't get to serve them, but I got to run their food. I met Kevin Heffernan and Steve Lemmy from Broken Lizard.
Cool.
They were in town. They were doing their two-man show at the Lamp, and they came into my restaurant beforehand.
Nice.
So that was really fucking cool. I didn't take a picture with them because I didn't want to bug them while they were eating, but I shook both of their hands, and I got to tell them how much I liked all their stuff, and that was really awesome. I've met a few celebrities though. I met them, and then I met is it Adam Savage from Mythbusters?
Yeah, Adam Savage, the redhead guy.
Yeah, he came in post quarantine actually.
Oh, okay.
They all sat outside and they were really nice, but I don't know. I would probably say the Steve Lemmy, Kevin Heffernan was probably my favorite day of work. That was really cool.
Nice, man. Well, this has been the end of the podcast. We got all the way to the end. This has been an absolute fantastic talk. I love that we cut out a little bit, but you are exactly the person that I wanted to interview. Just, you give me hope as 2021 goes on, that we're going to get better, and you're going to comedy. We're going to comedy shows already. Mm-hmm. People are all masked up and performing, and so that gives me hope. And like I said, I wish nothing but good sets for you in the upcoming year, and I hope you get the vaccine soon and all that good stuff. So tell people where they can find you on any platform. Tell them about any projects that you're working out. Just give the people a feeling about your comedy and everything you want to share with them.
Okay, so I have a podcast right now with a Salem comic, Chad Johnson. It's called Must Be Nice, and it's basically, we talk about being comedians that don't drink anymore. We both quit drinking about the same time, and it's kind of loose form. A lot of it we end up talking a lot about Nintendo, but it's kind of all over the place, but we have a lot of fun on that one. And that one we do weekly. And you can find that on Instagram, Must Be Nice on Instagram, as well as I think it might be linked on with the Pod Chaos is the other. They do the Pod Chaos as well with Emma Pace Jonas and Zach Chappell. Also, you can find me on Instagram at Kyle Adams Comedy and YouTube as well, Kyle Adams Comedy. Right now, I'm not running any shows, unfortunately. I had a show off of Hawthorne that was going for a little bit, but they ended up closing down, and then with quarantine and whatnot. But I'm hopefully going to get one started here pretty soon again once things start picking back up.
Perfect. Well, go check out his podcast, and it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today. And I'll see you. Hopefully, I'm back in Portland and specifically Oregon sometime in either late 2021 or 2022. But it's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope people check out your comedy and you're on stage again, because you always make me smile every time I see you, buddy.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. You as well.
All right, we'll see you again real soon, man.
Take care.
Bye.